And this is what everybody expected to happen. This is what was supposed to happen when you went on a quarterback scavenger hunt in April following Nico's departure. You wanted to go get somebody with experience who could come in and compete, and that experience you thought would be the difference maker. I wrote this on Monday. I think the part that I didn't fully grasp, Grant and everybody, was the fact that the coaches could be so hands-on with the guys in the summertime. And so that really cheated the learning curve or accelerated the learning curve for Joey Aguilar, if you think about it. He comes in May, goes through all the installs himself. Then he gets into June and July, and he's doing the installs with the coaches and the rest of the offense. So that's the second time he's put it in and gone through it in 6-8 weeks. And then he does it again at the start of the fall camp. We all wondered, could he grasp the offense quick enough? The reality is, with the coaches being able to be hands-on with him all summer long, that question was never really any doubt. And because of that, I think Joey Aguilar was not playing catch-up the way we maybe thought he was playing this massive game of catch-up, because there's so much interaction between coaches and players now in the offseason.
Are any of y'all surprised at the timing of this? That I just kind of figured they just would never officially say anything and just leave it hanging out there, and we'd keep asking about it, and they keep doing non-answers and all that stuff.
I thought Tuesday, Grant, at the latest for me, because I just did not see him doing this on game week, because that distracts from game week. So I thought that, Tuesday he might announce it if it didn't come out before then, and obviously, right, a couple of days before then.
Yeah, for me, once you tell the team, you have to tell it has to be announced, because look at what happened in Alabama. They told the team, and they were trying to hold it for a full week. and by that night it was out, because you can't hold it when you tell the team, because all the kids run and tell everybody, and they tell everybody, and soon enough everybody at Bryant Denny knows. Same thing here. Soon enough everybody at Neyland was going to know. So once he told the team on Sunday night, it was the right move to go ahead and announce it, and they did it with a nice post, and Hubs had it, and it was a shock to nobody, because at the end of the day, Hubs is right. He was brought in to be the guy. Did it mean he's definitely going to be the guy? No, he had to prove he could do it. But Hubs, we sit outside the complex on Friday after the second scrimmage, and we had multiple players walk by and reference while they were on the phone to somebody, he was the best quarterback out there, and that tells a lot. The players saw it with their own eyes.
Well, and I think because of that, Grant, is why the timeline was where it was. I'm with Eric. I did not think that Josh Heupel would go deep into game week and not announce it, and I don't think he wanted that necessarily to be the news on game week. But I, could it have gotten accelerated a day or two or a few days because of how he performed Friday in the scrimmage? Yeah, I think so. I think Joey slammed the door on Friday in the scrimmage. And I think he had the lead going in. Don't get me wrong. I think he had the upper hand. But I think based on the way he played in the scrimmage on Friday, to Austin's point, guys, and creating some buzz and about how he played and what people were saying afterwards, I think it made it easier to go ahead and do it and end it on Sunday. I don't know that Josh Heupel had Sunday penciled on his calendar when camp opened that he was going to do it that day. But I think that he was going to do it the first opportunity he could when the race was over. And I think the race ended on Friday. I think Joey Aguilar ended any thoughts of it being anybody other than Joey Aguilar with the way he performed Friday in Neyland Stadium.
I think it's important too, because something we've talked about. You now go into this mock game week. Then you have game week, and you don't have to divide up the 1 reps anymore. Jake Marklinger, George McIntyre, and I want to get to their stances here in a moment, and kind of what they're going to enter the season as here in a moment. But nobody's splitting reps of the ones anymore. It's all Joey Aguilar. And I think that's important, Austin, because again, you're going to start implementing game plan for Syracuse this week, and it's important to not take anything away from the quarterback who's going to be out there with the first-team offense. And so he's going to get all these reps, and that just makes sense. Again, you're getting closer and closer to game week and closer to kickoff. Aguilar needs all those reps for himself and obviously for the game planning purposes.
Yeah, tomorrow will be 10 days until kickoff. So, you want to go ahead and expedite that. The question for me is what does he do with center? Does he go ahead and announce center when he meets with the media later today? Or does that one play out a little longer than maybe the quarterback position did? Because, to me, they work hand in hand, because each play starts with, both those players. So does he go ahead and pull the trigger and name a center, which most people think it will be Sam Pendleton? Or does he wait a little longer on that one? Either way, I think the more you can get into, okay, here's who we have. Here are our starters. Getting Braylon Staley back this week, it would be a massive deal. Mike's obviously getting healthier. Razzle's getting healthier. Looks a little more like a healthy football team or a healthy-ish football team than it did a week and a half ago. So the more you can kind of simulate what he's trying to do with mock, being for a week from now, I think the better. And I think that probably, to me, translates to him doing something with the center this week. But, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know that he'll announce a starting center, because then if he announces that, then are you going to? The follow-up question is, well, who's your starting right guard? Okay, well, who's your starting slot receiver?
I'm already thinking about the graphic I'm going to make for the starting center.
Who's your starting safety opposite Andre Turntime? I don't think he'll. I think the quarterback position is the only position that they were going to announce. But what I do think is funny, Grant, is, and I agree with Eric in that you want to get your harmony and you want to get your first team reps and everything. But if you didn't name it and you asked the question, the following answer would be, well, we go so fast paced in practice and we get so many reps and so many snaps in, it doesn't really matter that one guy gets more. We try to keep it even all the time anyway between our quarterbacks. So it's really not a big deal that somebody is not getting more reps with the ones than somebody else in the middle of a quarterback competition. Whereas now, I think the talk will be, getting your harmony, getting your cohesiveness, getting all those things put together. It's all dependent on how what your answer, your spin is based on the direction that you're going with things, which I think is always, entertaining. But that's a whole different side note to begin with. I do think getting him as many reps as he can with who his receivers are going to be, if they're going to be healthy for the first time all fall camp as a group next week or this week, is an important thing.
Now, I didn't ask that question like I was surprised. I thought, like everybody, that it was going to be an upset if it was not Joey that was your starting quarterback, because of what Hub said to start with. You went out and got this quarterback and brought him in here for a reason. But at the same time, he's Mr. Brackets on the depth chart every, leading into that first game week. What's the over-under set for Brackets on that first depth chart?
That or count's going to be up to
21 and a half?
At least.
You're taking the over. You're taking the over on 20.
I'm trying to set one that makes people go on both sides.
Well, I'm taking the under.
I think there's going to be a lot more no ors than ors this year.
Really?
Well, there's going to be at least two in the running back room. There'll be a couple in tight end, especially when you get to the freshmen.
Well, I don't count the sec. Here's the thing. I don't count the backups. If you're saying. If you're saying Van Dorslayer or Brame, I'm not counting that. I'm talking about.
Oh, you got to count that.
You got to count that.
You got to count that.
You're talking about the head coach that had a 4-year starter team captain, long snapper, who
starters.
had it bracketed on the depth chart.
That's exactly right.
Matthew Solansky, right?
Matthew Solansky. I forgot that. He was bracketed last year.
He was a captain, and he was bracketed.
I want to say Jerome Carvin was bracketed every game in 2021. I'm like, okay.
It's like Belichick with putting Brady on the what was the shoulder thing? Yeah, day to day or whatever.
Don't you think he handles the quarterbacks a little bit different because he was a quarterback? Don't you think his approach to that means we got to have more of a pecking order? We got to announce a starter earlier as soon as we know. Had he been an offensive lineman, so to speak, did Philip Fulmer think about the quarterback, what the approach to managing the quarterback derby in fall camp the same way that a former Heisman Trophy finalist who played quarterback thinks of it? My guess is there's probably a difference there. And I think that's why you see sort of the approach to the quarterback position in terms of announcement, brackets, and all those things. I think you see that differently than you do at other positions. I don't think Josh Heupel's nearly as cares about who's bracketed where at other positions, but he doesn't want to go in to brackets at quarterback. For one, he's a quarterback, and two, Austin, I don't think he wants to give any implication that he's going to have a 2-quarterback system, because I think he's as anti-2-quarterback system as you'll find anybody out there.
You're telling me we're not going to have a Noah Brandeis Is it Jesse Palmer or Doug Johnson? Whichever one. I always get those.
Doug Johnson, Jesse
Doug
Palmer,
Johnson.
alternating every play. No, we're
Every
not.
single play.
It's like Auburn and their play calling. First down, you get the call. Second down, you get the call.
What is that deal? Has anybody figured that one out? I know this is a way jumping off a tangent the other direction, but who comes up with who is in staff meeting going, hey, you got third down plays. Hey, you got second down play. Hey, you got first down play.
I think Hugh's wife came up with that. Like, how can we get fired? Okay, honey, tell them that each coach has a different down that they call plays on. That'll get us fired quicker so we can get out of here.
Well, it's funny. Like I've seen Auburn fans on social media talk about his play calling and just over the year, and they're like, well, when Hugh's calling it because he puts the play sheet over his mouth, and so like he was involved a little bit last year, but I had no idea that it was literally 3 to 4 different people. I mean, that's the stupidest thing I think I've ever heard in my life, but. Anyway, they make more money than I do.
He's going to do first and second down. The other guy's going to do third down, and then he's going to call fourth down from the gurney in the press box. He needs third down to get upstairs.
Back on track, though, that leads me to my next point. Now, obviously not trying to be Debbie Downer or anything, but I mean, like, how long of a leash does Joey Aguilar have? I think Joe Milton had a long leash, right? I think Nico was never coming out of the game unless he was hurt. How long of a leash does Joey Aguilar have, would you guys think?
Not as long as players, but I think that, like, he's going to get every opportunity to be the guy. I don't think that if Tennessee's sitting there with 3 points halfway through the second quarter, I don't think they're going, all right, let's get Merck up series. I'm a Hubs. I just don't think that Heupel thinks that way.
Yeah, I mean that's my inkling is that it's a long leash because he's made his decision. This is his guy, and this is who he's going to go with, unless it just gets really bad. I mean, if he throws multiple goofy picks or something like that, I mean, does something really goofy. But I mean, I'm with all. I don't think if you go into the half against Syracuse and it's a 10-10 game or it's a 7-3 game that you're going into the locker room and hey, we're going with somebody else here, unless, and this is the part of it we don't know, unless he's just overwhelmed for some reason. And Grant, I can't imagine that would be the case given his experience that you would be sitting there and on a headset going, wait a minute, what formations he got us in? Like, what are we doing here? And like he looks lost. He looks overwhelmed. He's throwing, dumb and he would have to be, I think, really poor, not just to the visible eye of fans, but also in how he was operating things that we don't always grasp for them to go into a decision-making mode where they would go somewhere else. He would
have to force Josh's hand, basically. To me, he would have to leave. No other choice. No other option. Like he's got to do something here.
Yeah. See, Grant answers that in 12 seconds, and I rambled for 45 seconds.
Well, the thing with Joey, and we've been dissecting the interception numbers since the day he was on Tennessee's radar. Because people look back at Hendon's numbers, and he had 63 touchdowns and 5 picks in 2 years, and that was insane. But Hendon didn't have a defense that could support, turning the football over. If Joey's got a version of the 24 defense with this 25 defense, I don't think it's going to be hard to match that 24 defense. But if this defense plays as well as it can, the ceiling that it has, he can, Hendon could have turned it over. He could have thrown 15 picks in 22 if he had a better defense, if he had a version of that 24 defense. Like Joey, there might be interceptions there, but if the defense makes it stand up, it's not going to hurt you as much. I think he's got to absolutely force Heupel's hand. Like, you have conviction in who you're picking, stick with that guy until you have no other option.
So what's the plan for Jake Merklinger and George McIntyre? Obviously not beginning the season as a starter, and you guys have said it several times that you believe that, if Aguilar were to miss extended period of time, they probably both would play. But Austin, do you feel like entering the season, Jake Merklinger is probably the quote-unquote 2 and George McIntyre is the 3?
Yes. I think that's the way to go. I think that's how coaches will play it. I just will be shocked if it was any other way, because at the end of the day, I think George – it's fine being the 2. George is fine being the 3. George would be fine being the 1. Like, nothing's water off a duck's back for George. Like, I don't think he really gets rattled by any of it. Whereas, like, if you made Merklinger, if George was the 2, Merklinger was the 3, I just think potentially Merklinger goes in the tank. Like, because, he knew this was his one shot to win it. He did not win it. And so now, I think to keep him engaged, they've got to have him as the 2. If he's not the 2, then, I just feel like you upset the room a little bit more, whereas I don't think it upsets George being the 3, because I think, again, if something happened to Joey, both would play.